This is more Doug DeMuro, and today I am going to answer a question I get all the time, which is, why haven't you reviewed X car yet? Why haven't you reviewed the new Defender or a 4th gen Camaro or the new RS6 Avant or whatever? This is by far the question that I get asked the most, more than any other question, and today I'm going to answer it. Okay, so first I want to start by saying I'm not complaining about people asking me why haven't I reviewed this car or that car yet. A lot of people tell me, oh, it must get tiring to constantly be hearing, you need to review this, why haven't you reviewed this? People get upset, and maybe that's wearing. But the truth is, it can often be helpful. People telling me that I should review certain cars sometimes makes me realize that there's demand for those videos that I wasn't expecting, so I review cars that I wouldn't otherwise. A good example of this is the new Hyundai Sonata. I generally don't review kind of normal cars, especially mid-sized sedans with the market push towards SUVs, but I get so many questions on this. People asking, when are you going to review the new Sonata? When is that coming? That I decided, hey, what the heck, I might as well. So I did, and it blew up. It got 1.3 million views as of right now, which is huge for a mid-sized sedan. And this has happened a few times. People asking for certain cars has prompted me to review them. The Toyota Avalon TRD, people were asking for an Avalon or a Camry TRD. I wasn't gonna do it, I did, and that video blew up. So I do appreciate knowing what cars you want to see with all these requests. It doesn't really bother me. But there's one situation where it can get kind of, I don't want to say annoying, because it's very rare that I get annoyed by any of my viewers unless they're being really mean, but it can get a little tiresome, and that is when new cars are really hot and really popular and people are asking about them. It is crazy to me how often people are asking if I'm going to review some really important new car. Every single day I get notes from people saying, are you going to review the new Ford Bronco? Yes, of course! I reviewed the Porsche Taycan, the Tesla Model Y, the new Corvette, the new 911, the new Lincoln Aviator, the Kia Telluride, the Jeep Gladiator, the new Supra, every other car that was even slightly important this year I reviewed. So do you really think I'm gonna skip the Bronco? It's probably the most anticipated of them all. I did the Ford Escape. Of course I'm going to do the Bronco. In fact, I've started to kind of dread auto shows because, no joke, at the virtual Geneva Auto Show, Koenigsegg debuted that 4-door sedan, and right away I start to get tweets and emails and comments, hey man, when are you gonna review the new 4-door Koenigsegg? I'm like, is this even real? It's like a rendering right now. What do you expect? When is that review coming? Do you plan on reviewing it? Folks, Koenigsegg's don't grow on trees. I do plan on reviewing it if it becomes available to me, but this isn't as easy as you might think. Right now, there's probably one of these things in existence. It's probably a prototype that can't go more than 11 miles an hour. It's gonna be a while. Just give it a few months, maybe a few years, and I will do my best to track one of these down. I'm going after views and popularity, so of course I want to review these cars, but it's not always that easy. And it's not just future cars. Right now, the car of the moment here seems to be the new Audi RS6 Avant, which is coming to America soon for the first time, and I've been inundated with requests. When are you gonna do the RS6 Avant? When is that coming? There is tons of pent-up demand for this car in America among enthusiasts, so people are really chomping at the bit, and I'm definitely getting more requests for this car than any other. Now, this one is a bit harder because some people have already reviewed the RS6 Avant, and I haven't. So people are thinking, well, when is he going to review it? Is he not planning on it? Did he forget about it? I promise you I didn't forget, if only because I'm getting 10 requests a day to review it. But here's the thing about the RS6 Avant. Generally speaking, I don't take free press cars that are given by the automakers to journalists for an objective review. Now, this is going to be the subject of a future More Doug video, but the basic gist of it is I don't take free press cars because I truly believe that that's bad journalism. I think that it leads to bias and favoritism and corruption, an automaker giving you something for free so that you write an objective review, right? A nudge, nudge, we're gonna fly you out to this hotel and whatever and give you a car for a week or a month, and then you're gonna be objective about it, sure. So usually I have to wait until cars go on sale before I can review them, and this car isn't on sale yet. yet, so I haven't done it yet. Now, for certain really important vehicles, I do take press cars to make sure I can get a video to you as soon as possible. The Porsche Taycan, the Jeep Gladiator, the new Corvette, the Supra, those were all press cars provided to me by each automaker, although I did travel to each one at my own expense. But unfortunately, Audi USA won't work with me. They make great cars, but their PR department is a challenge, so I will be waiting for that one until it goes on sale. Now, fortunately, I have a few great Audi dealerships that I work with who are more astute than their corporate headquarters, and they see what's going on with YouTube and who's watching, and so I will get one from one of them or from a viewer who buys one, but it's coming. But it's not just the RS6, it's also a waiting game for many other cars. The new Defender, the new Porsche 911, this stuff came out in Europe before the States, so people are asking, why don't you have it yet? When the new 992 came out, I got requests for months after other people had shown it off in Europe, but it wasn't on sale yet in North America. The moment it did go on sale, I went to Porsche San Diego, I reviewed it, I edited it that night, it went up the next morning. So I did it as quickly as possible. So if you're wondering why I haven't reviewed a certain really popular new car, I promise you, I already know about it. I don't need you to tell me about the new Ford Bronco, the Ferrari Roma, the four-door Koenigsegg. I will review it as soon as possible, the first moment I can. It's not a problem of desire, it's a problem of availability. I just don't have access yet. Now, for the less popular stuff, yeah, I mean, you can always let me know, hey, I want to see a review of the new Kia Optima. I'm not sure if I'll do that one, but if I get a lot of comments, maybe I will. But for the popular stuff, just assume I'm going to do it, and I haven't yet, not because I don't want to, but because the opportunity hasn't presented itself. Okay, so that's the new cars, but there's still a question of why haven't you reviewed a certain non-new car? And the answer to that can be split into two categories. One is I will review it, but I haven't yet, and the other is I won't review it. So let's start with the first thing. I get a lot of requests for cars that I will review, but I just haven't yet. And people get really mad. Doug, why haven't you reviewed a 4th gen Camaro yet? Or a Firebird? Doug, why haven't you reviewed a 300ZX? Doug, you're such a jerk. That's me using nicer language than what people say to me. You've reviewed, the 370Z, but you haven't reviewed an RX-8. You're a biased beep. And in this case, the answer is very much the same as it is with new cars. And it's all about availability. I want to review the car that you're talking about, but I haven't because I just haven't found the right one to review yet. The thing with my channel is, some people have picked up on this, but the thing is, it's really important for me with every older car I review to get two things. One, the very best version of the car, and two, a really nice example of the car. So for instance, I didn't review just any Dodge Neon SRT4. I found a really clean stock one, and I found an ACR model, which was like the really rare high performance version. I didn't review just any 90s Chevy Impala SS. I waited until someone reached out with probably the nicest one in existence. I didn't review just any early WRX STI. I waited until I had one that I could film. It was an 04 to 05 to get the original version in blue with the gold wheels, totally stock, totally original. I can name a bunch of these. I didn't just review any E92 M3. I went and found a final year competition model manual transmission with the cloth seats and the carbon fiber roof. I only filmed basically one video with each car, so I always try to get the best one, the very best one that they made. And so if a better version exists, I always try to film it. And also, I never film cars that have been modified. Unless the modification is just insanely small and unimportant. I want to show how the car came from the factory when it was new. So if you're wondering why I haven't reviewed, let's just as an example say a 4th generation Camaro or Firebird. Well, that's because I'm not just looking for any 4th gen Camaro or Firebird. I want to film a late production Firebird WS6 or Firehawk. The best of the breed, the end of the model range, and it has to be unmodified. Why haven't I reviewed an Evo? I get that question all the time. Well, because I want to find a really clean Evo 8 or an MR that hasn't been modified, hasn't been screwed with, and that pretty much doesn't exist anymore. So that's why I'm waiting. Now, some people will watch this and they'll say, wait a second, I have a mint 02 Firebird WS6 and I emailed you and you haven't reviewed it yet. So what's that about? There's two things at play here. One is For cars like this, I have to stay local, which to me means Southern California. It just doesn't make economic sense for me to travel to Florida or Michigan or Delaware or whatever just to review a 20-year-old Pontiac Firebird. It's not gonna happen. Especially when I can get basically as many views by reviewing a Hyundai Sonata at the dealership down the street. I just can't justify it, so it has to be local. With that said, if you're not in Southern California, don't feel like you shouldn't reach out. Please still do. Sometimes I'm traveling, I'm at a wedding, I have an extra day and nothing to do, I go and film a car. That's happened before. And I filmed a lot of cars that way, but usually I prefer local cars. And the other important thing with the older cars is I'm in no real rush. With the new cars, the videos have to go up right away, just when the car is coming out, just when there's a ton of interest in it to get people to watch as much as possible. But with older cars, whatever. 4th gen Camaro or Firebird is already 20 to almost 30 years old now, so it's not gonna matter if I wait another 6 months to find the perfect one and review it. So when it comes to priority, I have to focus more on newer cars, and then I film the older stuff when I have kind of a lull. If I have all the new cars I want to film filmed, I have a couple days, I go and film some older stuff. So that covers new and old cars I want to review. It's generally not a problem of me knowing about it or of interest. It's a problem of availability and timing. But there's another component to all this, and that is used or older cars that I'm not going to review. There are a few of those, and there are 3 primary reasons why I don't want to review a car. Number 1 is it's far away. I would love to review a Citroen Cactus or a Renault Aventime, but unfortunately that requires hours on a plane and thousands of dollars in cost, and it's just not happening. And I have a video explaining why I haven't traveled or won't be traveling globally to film videos. I'll link it in the description below. I have done it before, but it's very rare. I would do it for the right cars, but it's an unusual circumstance. 2, another reason why I don't want to review a car, it's too old. I found my audience mainly prefers cars from the 1980s and up. So even if I personally would love to do some 60s or 70s cars, it just doesn't excite my audience, and I very rarely make exceptions to that. Now I get people tweeting me saying, hey, wait a minute, it would excite me. You should film it. I'm one of your viewers, and that's true, and I get it, but I just won't get the widespread viewership with 60s or 70s cars that I would filming a video with something newer. And I have a video about that, why I don't film older cars. I will also link that in the description below. But there's also one more reason why I won't film a video with the car, and that's quite simply that I don't think the video will do all that well. Some cars that aren't new, I just don't want to review because I don't find them interesting enough to do a video on, a full review. And frankly, this is true for some newer models too, like I mentioned, but it's one big reason why I haven't reviewed some of the cars that people ask me about. And this is especially true of cars from the mid to late 2000s and the 2010s. People, for instance, keep asking, why haven't I reviewed a Tesla Model S? And it's just not all that interesting right now. There's newer Teslas out that have better tech. There's tons of content already on the Tesla Model S. It's been out for almost a decade. It's just not worth reviewing. Now, in 8 years, when you can buy one for like $9,000 and it becomes a bargain, then maybe it'll be interesting enough to review. And obviously, when it was a new car, if I had had a channel at that time, I would have reviewed it then. But now it's in this kind of period where it's just not particularly interesting or exciting. It's a commonplace car, not cheap enough to be that appealing, not new enough to be that exciting, and there's a lot of cars that fall into that range too. So that's kind of an explanation of why I haven't reviewed whatever car you want. If it's new, it's probably because I know about it, I just don't have access to it yet. If it's older, it's probably because either I haven't found the perfect example yet, but I'm looking, or it's far away, or it's too old, or I just don't think the video is going to do well. But I hope that helps explain what I'm looking for, why I choose the cars I do. Thank you for watching more Doug DeMuro. But unfortunately, Audi USA won't work with me. They make great... You just wanted to get out, huh, boy? You didn't want to be in there anymore.